Evening, Paul. I see you're still connecting to audio. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
All right, I can hear you. How are you doing tonight?
I just, I've been having trouble with this thing. I can never get the video to work. I had it work one night and at one meeting, but
It
I can
can
never get on it.
it can be here. I'm gonna send a prompt to you and it'll give you just a bubble that should allow you to
Oh,
click on it and maybe that'll help.
well, wait a minute. My camera didn't wake up here.
Oh, well, that would make it harder too.
Yeah, let me.
Oh, look at that.
All right.
And you're on live and in
Is
living
that right?
color. That's wonderful. I see you. I hear you.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, I reinstalled Zoom. I thought maybe that was part of the problem.
They're constantly updating this application, so it's not a surprise.
But I don't see. Should I click on launch the meeting?
You're in it. Yeah, I wouldn't click on anything else at this point. You're here. Are you just seeing me right now?
I just see you as a little square off to the side.
So if you hover your cursor, your mouse over that square, there should be a little box with an arrow pointing up to the right. If you click
Yep.
that, that should expand it to the full screen.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. So we're just hanging here. I see Diane is on. Evening, Diane. Good to have you as always.
Yeah.
And I
Welcome
see.
back from Canada.
Thank you.
So we'll just have some folks logging on here as we go.
Hello.
Evening,
Neighbor.
Larry. How we
Hi,
doing?
Larry.
I'm good. I was just thinking about the phrase, love thy neighbor.
It's a good place to start.
All right, I'm just getting logged in here. So give me a minute while we wait for everybody to join us, who's going to join us. And I'm going to try to split up my screen so I can pull up some things. Meeting. So give me a minute. I'm going to put myself on mute.
Ah, there you are, Diane. Lovely to see you this evening.
Yeah.
And good to see you too, Doug. How you doing tonight?
Yes, hey, good, thanks.
All right.
You were muted by you.
All right. It's 7:30.
All right, good evening.
Yeah. The
All right, let's just wait another moment or two. I'm just looking at who's online. Hello, everyone.
From your town, HPF, NY. Call from your town, HPF, NY. Your
I saw
Okay. John Foot just entered into the chat that he's joining us. He's our neighbor on North Lake Circle,
they're the,
and he's unable to stay for the whole meeting.
oh,
He's hoping to get a link of the recording. And do I see Mike? Is somebody recording?
Yeah, I'm hosting, so I'm recording the meeting, and once we have everything wrapped, that'll get uploaded, both likely to our website as well as having a link sent out to the community.
Okay, great. And then let's
And
see.
I'm taking the minutes, Larry, as well.
You're taking the minutes. Okay, so the minutes are going to be important.
Yep.
All right. So why don't I get us started? And as people join in, we could always back up if we need to. And I guess what I'd like to ask is for the people that are joining us from home, if you could put yourself on mute. And there is a way that you could raise your hand in Zoom, or you could just raise your hand physically. And unless we have a lot of people on the screen, we should be able to see each other so that we could always stop if we need to address any questions or points of order. But that way we won't have a lot of background noise. So if I could ask you to do that, that would be great. And
with the little baby.
Oh. I am going to, I'm just going to give a quick overview. I think in the email that everyone got, it did have the meeting agenda.
Are you putting your picture on?
And if somebody, I think I hear somebody talking, if you could just put yourself on mute, that would be great. For the meeting agenda is laid out in the bylaws for the club, which is posted on the website for the club. But
It's muted.
the meeting agenda calls out a verification of quorum or a calling of the roll. Usually we avoid calling of the roll so that we can avoid going through 100 and some odd residents' names. The second order of business is a proof of notice of the meeting or a waiver of notice. We usually read through the minutes as called for in the bylaws from the previous year. And then we receive any communications that might have been inbound from outside of the club or from members of the club. We have an election of directors, and then the directors elect the officers. Then we have reports of officers, reports from the committees, and any unfinished business from last year, and any new business at the end. So that is the agenda for today. And I guess we can get started with the verification of quorum or calling of the roll. So let me ask, I see I'm looking at our members because usually the calling of the roll would be the responsibility of the secretary, and I don't see that Alan's joined us. So let me just ask among the other members that are on the call and the directors if we have that available to us. Verification of quorum.
So I can confirm that the board has the voting weight of the community. So at present, I see that we have myself, Larry, Diane, Doug, and Michael, which puts us at 5 voting members at present out of the total of 10. So that actually does leave us just shy of the majority. However, I believe that the president at standing, which is currently Larry, has a voting responsibility. So that may actually put us just above the pair in terms of the board of directors, which is normally 6 people. So I don't believe the vice president, secretary, or treasurer actually have voting stakes. Is that accurate, Larry?
I believe that's the case. And those that aren't with us include some of the officers. So that's right. Okay, so we will move on then, and I would make a motion to accept the verification from Trevor McGinn, who is one of the directors for the club.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? And apologies for, I think Robert's Rules of Order would have called for some discussion in between those. So I was a little early on my trigger finger. So if anybody wanted to discuss the quorum, you can do that. Otherwise, I'll move on. I don't see anybody calling for a discussion of that. So we'll accept the vote then to move on to the agenda. So the next item is proof of notice of meeting or waiver of notice. So I am going to ask, again, normally that would be the secretary's responsibility, but the secretary wasn't able to join us tonight, I don't believe. So I'm going to ask Trevor, who I believe had some responsibility for that, if he could attest that we did send out a proof of notice for the meeting.
Yeah, so the original notice was distributed via email and physical copy to those residents in the community without an electronic address. That was distributed on April 13th. So that is in advance of the window, which is between 28 and 14 days to notify the community of the meeting. So that went out 16 days in advance of the meeting. And a reminder also was sent out today. I would also say that relative proof of the notice is the attendance currently of community members, which is always a nice sign. So, and also I'd like to note that Sheila did just log on as well. So we have now a full 6 members, which does put us firmly in a majority.
Thank you, Trevor.
Happy to be here.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept the proof of notice.
A second.
Do we have any discussion? All right. Well, then I'll call for a vote then to accept the proof of notice for the meeting. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we'll accept the proof of notice. And now the third item on the agenda is to the reading of the minutes. Now, this is something that's just a side note from me as acting president, that I have always found this a little bit awkward because it's a year after our last annual meeting, but nevertheless, it's called for in the bylaws. So I would like to ask for someone to read the minutes from last year. And I know among the board members, we had circulated that. Does somebody have that available where we could either read it or we could even share a screen and just put it up for everybody to see if that might be easier? I think that might be an acceptable alternative.
Larry, I don't have them available because I'm on my mobile, but if.
Okay, let me, let's just give me a minute and let's see if I can pull them up.
And I'll try and find them as well and see if I can share them, but I'll let you know if I find them.
Larry, I've got it here. Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay, super.
So apologies to everyone for my Gmail, but we took attendance of present officers and directors. Officers were all present. Board of directors present. 3 were up for vote. 2 were not present, Jonathan Samter and Jim Crimmins. The election of officers and directors took place. Officers all volunteered to run again. Directors, Doug Emmerich and Colleen, volunteered to run again. Jim Crimmins did not wish to run. Trevor McGinn, that would be me, volunteered to fill the position. Jan Anderson moved to elect Larry, Sheila, Mike, and Alan, seconded by Lou Terman. Discussion, correction by Larry Mango, Doug Emmerich. Apparently there was some confusion about Doug's last name. An amended motion, discussion as to the number of directors up for elections that year, An imbalance resulted from resignations in earlier years and discussion around one director volunteering to a shorter term to return balance to the organization. No objections were made to the slate of officers voted. I believe, in fact, I was the director who volunteered for a shorter term. For the beach report, the ramp onto the long dock, in addition to the short dock, needed repair, short float repairs, frogmen for launch and swim area growth, temporarily placing tarps at the beachfront, taking a picture of the abandoned boat of the week. Is this your boat? Lots of boats had been moved around due to high winds, potential tree issue down by the beach. For the social committee, we addressed the distribution and writing of the newsletter, the potential for a picnic, which obviously, given timing of last year's meeting, was a true question mark. And then again, I was appointed as the social committee chair with Mike Rudy assisting. The directory committee, which is Jan Anderson as a committee of one. She did in fact create a new directory that had been put together and was distributed last year. And that would be the effect of our minutes from last year's meeting.
So do we make a motion to accept the minutes from last year, Larry? Is that,
Yeah,
I make a motion to approve the minutes as read from last year's annual meeting.
and do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion about the minutes from last year?
I would like to put one discussion point up on the proposed repairs for the long dock. Those were not completed last year. And for the same reason, we didn't have the picnic last year due to COVID restrictions, difficult to get a work team down there to assist. So that is on schedule, hopefully to be done this year.
Thank you, Sheila. And I do want to note also that Sheila and Sheila, if you don't mind my saying, your wonderful fiance, Bart, have invested a lot of time over the years, but especially in the last year or two, in rehabilitating the swim floats for the community. And that has saved the community certainly a lot of money. So I wanted to thank you for the efforts that you made. And Bart's certainly done a wonderful job, and I know he had a lot of assistance from you, Sheila, and from other members of the community. But I did want to single you out for that, for the work that you've been doing down at the beach and on the beach committee.
Well, thank you very much. And Bart heard you, so he also says thank you.
Okay, any other discussion or points to go over regarding the minutes from last year? Okay, I'm just scanning my screen, making sure we're not missing anybody. Okay, well, we have a motion, we have a second, so let's call for a vote. Let's call for the vote to accept the minutes. I would say aye.
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 And I see another one. Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, well, let's move on then. It looks like we have everybody's in agreement to accept the minutes. Okay, so the next item on the agenda, I don't know that I have anything to provide here, but the next item on the agenda is the receiving of communications. So normally what we would do here is if we had any communications from outside groups, from the Waterworks, from the Three Lakes Council, and I don't believe we have any inbound letters or any significant communications that have come in. But I do want to defer to the other board members in case I might be missing something.
I don't have anything.
Okay, great. All right, so then the next item on the agenda is the election of officers, or the election of directors. So maybe this might be a good time for me to try to share my screen for a moment. If I could do that, give me a second. Okay, here we go. Hopefully you could share the screen. I think this may have been circulated to the group. But the this highlighted section shows the officers and the directors. So the current directors who have term remaining are Diane Shannon, Colleen Harris, Doug Emmerich, and Trevor McGinn. And I believe Jonathan Samter, his term expires this year. And I believe Trevor McGinn, is that right, that you were opting for a shorter term? Or
Yeah, I had opted into the shorter term simply just because we had an imbalance due to an earlier resignation. So my term was for just a year. So I was outgoing as of this current year.
Okay, so the new directors that the slate for the new directors, I'm highlighting on my screen. It's Tim Bearfield on North Lake Circle, and I'm not sure if Tim was able to join us.
Yeah, he was not. He said he couldn't make it this evening. He just sent an email just before we started.
Okay, so Tim is running for one of the seats, and Marty Watkins is running for the other seat, and I do see Marty's on the call. Tim lives on North Lake Circle, and he's a relatively new resident in the community. And Marty Watkins and his wife and kids are also, they've been here for a few years, but they're also relatively new compared to some of us to the community. So I know Marty's here, and I don't know if he prepared anything, any remarks, but Marty, would you want to make any remarks before we have to hold the election?
Sure. I didn't prepare anything, but I'll keep it to under a minute or here.
Marty, let me just interrupt for a second, because
Yeah.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing just so people will be able to better see you, I think.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank
there
you.
we go.
So as Larry introduced, my family is relatively new to the community, but we've been here since 2015. So we're going on 6 years here. It'll be 6 years in July, actually. It's myself, my wife, Katie, and our 2 young children, Layla and Martin. You probably see us trolling around the community trying to keep our children occupied. But I have to say, as far as the lake goes, and this association and this particular street goes, it was a huge draw for us moving to the community, seeing the layout of the lake, and having good neighbors like Larry and Trevor, and some of you who I've never met in person. You've drawn us a little further in and wanting to help and support the community in any way that we can. So if it means being a part of the board of directors, it'd be a tremendous honor to support, Larry and Trevor's good work, and everyone else on the board who I'm not naming. And, I have just a little bit of background on myself. I work in property management. I've been doing it for about 16 years now. I'm the principal of a firm in Bedford called McGrath Management Services. And attending board meetings and doing this is kind of my living. So I'm happy to participate this on a volunteer basis. It's nice being on the other side for once. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve the community, and anything you need, we're here to offer.
Thanks, Martin. And you may have noticed when I had my share screen up that the director terms, everybody is a member who is a resident in the community. But the director terms are for a term of 3 years, and it's a rolling election cycle. So every year there are positions that become open. So I see we have some faces on the call from some of our other neighbors. So everyone who is a resident in the community is welcome to run for a seat on the board in future terms. And in addition, the president has the ability to appoint committees. We have a couple of standing committees that have been active in past years. That includes the social committee and the beach committee. In years past, we've had other committees as well. And I know the new slate of directors has some ideas going forward. So anybody who's interested in becoming more involved in the community, even if you feel like you're not ready for a spot as a director or an officer, being active on a committee is a good way to to meet some of your other neighbors and play a role in this wonderful community that we love. So let's see, with that, I think unless anyone has anything else, I would make a motion to elect Tim Bearfield and Martin Watkins as directors for 3-year terms through 2024.
Second.
Okay, before we call for a vote, do we have any discussion or any other points that anyone wants to make? Or I guess, are there any other candidates that we may have missed? Okay, I'm looking around and I don't see anybody on mute whose lips are moving and no hands raised. So I'm going to assume that there is no discussion. So let's call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and you can raise your hand if you're on mute. Okay, and any opposed? I'm just scanning the screen and I don't see anybody opposed. Bill, you're not opposed, are you? You're just adjusting your camera, it looks like. Okay, well, with that, I think we have a couple of new directors. So thank you, Martin, and thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, the next item on the agenda is for the board members, or actually the directors. I believe in the bylaws, it's the directors elect the officers. So the officers, the slate of officers for this year, and let's see if I could do a quick share screen again, just so you could see. And this should have went out more or less. You should have gotten this by mail, by email. I'll just highlight it on here. But the slate of officers for this year is Trevor McGinn, who you should see on the screen, who's been doing a lot of the talking in this meeting. Sheila Tortorici, who's joining us by phone. She's on the slate for the vice president. Myself, I served as president for the last couple of years, and I'm happy to continue serving as treasurer. And Mike Rudy, who's also on the call as secretary. So I would make the motion to accept the slate of officers by the board.
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? And I will note that these are 1-year terms. So next year they will be up. All of the officers will be up for election or re-election as a new slate. And I also want to note that I did call for this slate. I guess we could elect the officers individually, but unless there's any discussion, we can move to a vote. Okay, so the vote is, since we have a quorum, the vote would be by the those directors that are on the call or that are on the Zoom. So all those directors in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Sheila, I can't see you, and you're on mute. So I just want to make sure we get your vote.
Do I count as a director? I give you a thumbs up.
You're a thumbs up, okay. And Doug, I see, is on mute, and Doug's raising his hand. And Mike is currently a director, and Martin, who's been elected. And we are missing a vote from Tim. But any opposed? Okay, then, with that, I think we have our new slate of directors. So with that, I will then turn the meeting over to Trevor McGinn. Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you, Larry. And just as a means of starting off, I do want to thank Larry for leading us for the past several years. He's been the president of this community organization since before I moved into the community. I've never known another president of the Two Lake Club than Larry Mango, and he has done an exemplary job, and we are all grateful for his service and his continued service as the treasurer. because it seems like he may have taken on a more difficult job moving forward, which is an intriguing decision. Similarly, I would like to thank Alan Gottlieb and Michael Greenblatt, who have served tirelessly, frankly, as both the treasurer and secretary of this community for some time. They could not be here with us this evening, but we are very, very much indebted to their work, and they have laid a very nice track for us moving forward as we are starting, especially to start digitizing and sending emails and things of that nature. They really were the ones who did the yeoman's work to establish the tools and the information that we needed to make this possibility. So with that being said, we will continue forward with our meeting. We can pull up, if you'll allow me, just briefly, I can show our agenda that was sent out. We have already taking care of the vast majority of what we have, and we find ourselves landed at the reports of officers. So as a very, very new president, I can say that I don't have anything especially that I need to be discussing, but I do know that Larry, as our new treasurer, is taking some work off the shoulders of our former treasurer and does have some things that he needs to address regarding signatories for the club. So Larry, would you like to take us away here?
I'll unmute. There we go. All right. Thank you, Trevor. Yes. So I will take over the role that Mike Greenblatt has played. And I believe that along with the meeting announcement that we sent out a budget and a budget comparison. But regardless, I do have that available, and I'm going to just pull it up and share. And I know some of the numbers here are a little bit small, but hopefully we could all see it. There we go. All right. So for 2020, our revenues were more or less in line with past years. The dues for the year have been consistent for the last number of years at $150 per household or per residence. Per lot, actually. There are a couple of homes that are on 2 lots. But the revenues are more or less consistent. There is also a late fee that's charged when dues are not promptly returned. So on the revenue side, you see the member dues consistent year to year. And then we do have a number of residents that also contribute some extra dollars from year to year as well. So we did have some other income in 2020. And I'm looking at this middle column right here. I'll highlight it for you. So the total revenues, 16,665. For expenses, I broke these into categories so that we could look at different categories. We did not have much in the way of administrative expenses last year. Usually the administrative expenses have to do with our annual mailings, and a lot of the mailings we did electronically last year. In addition to that, we have costs for our website, and the website costs are actually, it's a 2-year membership. So we did not have any costs for the website last year, but we will this year coming up. Our repair and maintenance costs, as you can see for 2020, were lower than the year before. Just with the pandemic, we were not involved in as many projects around the lake as we have been in years past. As far as our kind of fixed costs for insurance and real estate taxes, the insurance is really liability insurance for the directors and officers, as well as liability insurance for the lakefront property. And that is more or less consistent for year to year, although you will see for our 2021 budget, our rate is going down just a little bit. In addition, our real estate taxes are very low. The lot is the way it's classified with the assessor's office gives us a very low tax rate for the county and the school taxes. So that has been more or less consistent from year to year, but it goes up by a few dollars every year. And then I broke this down into program costs so that we could try to compare year to year how things have changed with what we were doing at the lake. Our annual bulk trash pickup is usually pretty consistent, around $2,000 or so from year to year. This past year it was $1,869, and it's based on the weight of the trash that's picked up. So you can see in 2020 there was a few residents that put out some extra trash, and the expenses were higher. But generally, it's around $2,000, give or take. Last year was $1,869. The big expense last year was the play set, which had reached the end of its useful life at the beach. We knew this expense was coming, and it was actually billed at the end of 2019, but the payments weren't actually made until 2020. And it was the cost of the set plus the installation. So that was the big expense last year. Again, we knew it was coming, and over the years we had built up a reserve for its replacement, and we continue to hold a reserve for the docks. So that's a report on the budget for last year. You can see the total expenses, 121, significantly higher than the previous year, again, because of the play set. And we were left with a deficit last year, but because of our planning and building up a reserve, we were able to not miss a beat and pull some money from the reserve to cover the cost of the play set and the installation. Okay, and let's see, I guess I have a budget also, and since I'm giving the report, if you don't mind, Trevor, I'll just continue, and I'll just go over the budget for 2021 as well, which is in the next column, and it's still up on the screen. So you could see for 2021, total revenues basically in line with previous years. We are assuming that we will have some administrative expenses this year, and that our repair and maintenance will be increased from last year and from previous years. We do have, as Sheila mentioned earlier, we will have some expenses on the docks, and we anticipate we'll have some other repair costs around the lake, including there are some elm trees around the lake that we put some dollars in here for potentially removing the disease trees. Let's see. I have some. You'll see there's some notes here on the side, so I might just refer to these to trigger my memory on some of these. But again, annual bulk trash pickup, we put in like the average of the past few years, $2,000. Improvements to the beach club, $1,200. Improvements to the boat racks and launch, $2,500, and some money in here, $750 for a picnic or other social events for this year. Not too many specifics in here. We were going off of past trends more or less, but we have a total expenses of $16,050. If all goes according to the budget, which it usually doesn't, but if it does, it would match the revenues of $16,050 for a net zero for the year. And I'm just going to look at my notes here that we had put together when we were preparing this budget. Again, the installation of the playset was last year. We had put some contingency in the budget this year for the annual beach cleanup. So that's $1,000 that we put in there. That's just a placeholder. We have a contingency for tree removal, $1,200, which is right here. We have some costs for the rebuild of the finger dock, which we budgeted right here, $2,500, and then the picnic and other events. So that is the budget for 2021 as prepared by the directors. We did have some discussion and email back and forth before you were all seeing this and before it got mailed out. In addition, I would like to go over the balance sheet just so everyone knows how much money the community has. And we have 2 accounts with Chase Manhattan Bank. Savings account has about $15,000 in it, $3,600 and $3,655 and change in the checking account. And at the time that I prepared this, we had some undeposited receipts for some past due amounts and for some late fees. I don't want to put anybody on the spot or call anybody out, but there are some significant accounts receivable from some of the members. And this is a deeded community, which means that a lien can be placed on the property for dues that aren't paid, and we try not to do that. But there are some large accounts that we will be trying to collect. And the next collection effort will be when the next dues assessment goes out, which would be within the next week or two after this meeting. So the accounts receivable, $4,680. I did put an allowance here for uncollected accounts. And these are really there are a couple of residents who did have balances who moved away, who we were not able at the closing. Usually that will be called by the whoever's financing the property, by the lender and the title company. And usually at that point, we're able to settle up. But for one reason or another, we were not contacted, and we do have some write-offs. We do, at the time this was collected, we do have an insurance that's due in May and a real estate tax bill that's actually due tomorrow. And that leaves us with a total balance sheet of $22,601.76. So that is where we stand as the Two Lakes Club.
Wonderful. Thank you, Larry. I do just want to highlight for those viewing his screen, oh, it just disappeared, but that large, no, it's fine. That large log line that was entitled other member accounts receivable in that expenses in the accounts receivable section, it is accounting for a variety of residents in the community who have only missed 1 year of dues. And so obviously, as we all know, this past year has been particularly trying and somewhat confusing in terms of staying on top of some of these normal, seemingly everyday things. So where that number is coming from is a several, I think it's something in the range of 8 to 10 households that are merely a year out of date. And so as such, they are not being named, but that is why that figure there is so large. So I would like to both thank Larry for his work on this. This is such a clean and clear, very easy to understand document. And then I would also like to motion to approve the 2021 budget. Can I have a second?
Yep, I'll second that motion. It's Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila. Is there any discussion on this topic that anyone would like to raise? And Larry, if you could close your share, actually, just so I can see more faces. I'm not seeing hands. I'm not seeing furrowed brows. This is all very comforting. Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Wonderful. Then we can formally adopt the 2021 budget as written. Thank you again, Larry, for your work on this. Moving forward, Sheila, do you as the Vice President have anything you would like to report in your position there?
No, not in the Vice President position. Thank you.
Okay, then we can then move forward on to the reports of committees, in which case, Sheila, you are back on deck. And we would love to hear what you have to report for this past year and what you're expecting moving forward.
Okay, so as we said last year, we didn't do a lot of the major physical repairs that we had slated, primarily because of the inability to have people working in close proximity to each other especially in the late spring time of year. So we are proposing this year, as I mentioned, to do the finger dock repair. We are going to try and use the existing infrastructure, reset floats and reset new boards on the top. Actually, I think we can do the boards on top from reclaimed wood. And we are also looking to try and do some where we've got runoff of sand. We've been trying to pull that back onto the beach. So we did quite a bit of that last year. We'll continue that effort this year to try and recover our beach without violating any ordinances against placing new sand in quantities right on the lakefront. So those are probably the major items that we'll get to. It's a fair amount of work for that finger dock. Also would like to discuss the sale of the unclaimed boats. So those are the boats that are now down at the beachfront marked as unregistered that Larry so heroically moved over to one side of the beach to free up rack space for residents who are actually active in the community. So intention there is to try and do that over a 2-day period of time. The first day being likely a Friday night where we would have the boats available for sale or purchase only by members of the community, and then open it up to a wider public sale the Saturday following. So that's the intent. Would be interested in knowing if anyone is against that particular approach on the sale of the boats, or other than some of the ground repair that seems to be ongoing on the lakefront, which will continue to fill holes as they turn up. If there's any other core item that this group would like to address or see addressed at the beach this year.
Thank you.
Sheila, can I just add just a point of just a comment or point of clarity, I guess. The Two Lakes Club, the rules for keeping your watercraft at the beach for several years, many years, I don't know how many years, have been consistent with the Three Lakes Council rules, which is that all of the watercraft are supposed to be registered with the Three Lakes Council and have a sticker which so that you can identify who owns the watercraft. So we've been cooperating with the Three Lakes Council on that. And those watercraft that do not have stickers or do not have recent stickers, meaning in the last 3 or 4 years, since Three Lakes Council has had a purple registration sticker, those are the boats that have been pulled aside where we just can't identify who owns them. So those are the boats that we're talking with. And for anybody that's on the call, if you have a question about whether or not that might be your boat, please visit and take a look.
I do have a question. How are you going to conduct the sale?
So Bobby, what I was thinking of doing is actually posting a notice that the sale will be up. We're going to keep that to local community. And then hold the sale at the lake. I was considering just doing a fixed price for individual boats rather than trying to do that as an auction on a first come first serve basis, which is why I want to have local community have access first, or members of the club. Let's say members in good standing of the club have access first. Does that seem appropriate from your perspective?
I have to unmute. Okay. Yeah, that seems to be appropriate, because otherwise I think it get a little confusing, complicated.
Yeah. I thought we would just go down, and I'll actually probably look for maybe some other volunteers to join the beach committee. I might just put signs on the lakefront and schedule a meeting and see who shows up, and then to kind of walk around and set some prices on those boats without being, killing it. And then obviously all the money goes back into the treasury. So, and if anyone has a boat they'd like to sell that they want to take advantage of the fact that we're doing that anyway and wishes to put a price on a boat they own, we can manage that and just keep the money separate. So I don't mind doing that if someone's really interested in selling a boat they have and just doesn't want to deal with it, but would certainly maybe like to get rid of it and get $100 or whatever the price they're looking for. But the community boats, we would set price based on the condition of the boat and the type of the boat. So for example, there is one canoe down there where anyone who buys it is going to have to replace the whole upper rim and the seats on the canoe. So that one's not likely to go for quite as much as a canoe that's usable as is.
Yeah, replacing gunnels ain't cheap. But
well, yeah. If you can do it yourself, you're probably okay. If you've got to pay someone to do it, it might end up not being worth it, but.
So, thank you very much, Sheila, for the clarification on the process for that. Do you, out of curiosity, have an idea of a timeline with which you would like to plan for this sale?
I was originally considering the weekend prior to Memorial Day, which likely will be the same weekend we'll try and schedule beach cleanup.
Okay.
So we'll have the most people sort of visiting the area, if you will, to give them an opportunity to kind of select and choose a boat if they do live in the community and just, don't currently have a boat and would like to maybe have a canoe or a kayak. We did grab one of the boats that we would like to continue to use as a community type boat. It's quite convenient for pulling the floats out to the lake. So you'll notice one of the boats Larry pulled out is actually sitting on the side of the finger dock right now because we've been using it to place the floats out on the lake. So much easier than pulling them behind a canoe, which is what we've been doing for the past, 10 years or so.
Have you, I know it's been going on for a number of years, and I think people have had an opportunity to go claim the boats.
Yes.
Do you anticipate any problem of people saying, hey, that's my boat and don't want it sold? Or
I'm hoping if they do, they come down and they've got their 3 Lake Cub sticker in their hand and they put the sticker on the boat. And if that happens, then that boat will obviously not get sold. Now, there's a chance someone could just decide to claim a boat. So I may just register it as a boat sale, unused boat sale rather than unclaimed boat sale, to sort of offset that potential. But I don't anticipate that'll happen.
okay.
And to date, I do know that both Larry and Sheila have made inroads to reach out via both the Facebook group and other measures to alert members of the community who might have boats down there that do not have those 3 Lake Club stickers to go claim them, get them registered properly, and ensure that those are up to standards. So I know they've made efforts to that, and we will continue to do so. And now that we have our 2 Lake Club email account, certainly announcements for the sale of these boats for the beach cleanup day, those announcements will be coming out to every resident's email in the same way that the announcement for this meeting did. So there should be plenty of advance notice for folks to get ahead of this if they have somehow just forgotten that they own a canoe. Is there any other further discussion or questions for Sheila regarding either the boat sale or the cleanup? It sounds like we're targeting Memorial Day weekend or the weekend before. Which was it, Sheila?
I'd like to target the weekend before so that we're all set for Memorial Day weekend.
Lovely. Any further questions or conversation or anything that anyone would like to ask of Sheila and the beach committee? I'm seeing shaking heads and general indifference.
Thank you for handling Sheila.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sheila. Okay, then we can move forward to the report of the social committee, which is chaired by me. Outgoing, I've noted helpfully on my agenda. So as we start this, I would go ahead and say that anybody who might be interested in leading this committee moving forward does not have to be a director or an officer of the board, just a member in good standing. But what this committee is designed to do is to generate our yearly newsletter and communicate what we're doing to our residents, as well as to plan regular get-togethers. Essentially, we used to hold regular fire and ice evenings, one Friday every month, when we would have a bonfire down by the lake. Folks would come down. There would be obviously the bonfire as the fire, a cooler with some ice. Folks would be able to come down, meet their neighbors, hang out, spend some time together. Very informal, very designed to be friendly and open. And then beyond that, the biggest responsibility would be the leading and planning of our annual picnic. Obviously, last year we were unable to host our annual picnic as a result of the general COVID situation. This year we are genuinely hoping and striving to be able to hold that. Typically, it has been held on July 4th. And so that is our tentative plan for now, is to schedule the picnic for July 4th. As we saw with Larry's budget, there is some more money that is being put into that pot this year. And that is going to be to ensure that we are able to provide the experience that everyone is looking for in terms of community gathering, but also ensure that safety protocols are being met, such that that's an increase in potentially individually wrapped utensils, those types of things that will allow folks to feel more secure instead of just digging through a basket of plastic forks that everyone else has been doing. So, and similarly too, the provision of additional food items, as the potluck may not be the vibe that everyone is most comfortable with. Apologies for using the word vibe, but so that's sort of the crux of the role. Obviously, again, last year was my first year in it, and I would say I was a miserable failure as we were unable to host anything because of a general pandemic situation. But this year does hold promise. And so again, we are tentatively scheduling our picnic for the 4th of July. If for whatever reason it is still deemed unsafe or somehow ungainly for the community to attempt at that time, we would push to Labor Day weekend. And so we could conceivably do that either on the Saturday or the Sunday of Labor Day weekend to ensure that we have a later opportunity to get our community together, because I do know that is something that folks are missing somewhat desperately, depending on the household. So that is essentially the review from the social committee for the past year. I would open the floor now to anyone who might wish to stick their head up and volunteer to lead the committee moving forward. If not, again, a communication will be going out to the community post this meeting that will be seeking volunteers for this committee, among many others. So any discussion, questions, concerns, thoughts? Otherwise, I open the floor in general. And I was that boring. I'm not hearing anything, and I'm appreciative of that. I respect it. I'm not insulted in the least.
And no volunteers.
And no volunteers, but you know what? We'll figure that out. And if it means another year in servitude, I think I can handle it. So anyway, that is my report. At this point, we would typically turn to the gardening/beautification committee, but Colleen Harris, the chair of said committee, is not with us this evening. So we will bypass that and continue forward with our agenda, at which point we are now looking at unfinished and new business. So in much the same vein as I was just discussing, we are looking to create a couple new committees moving forward for our community that I think will both set a trajectory for us in one case, as well as hopefully lighten the load. We've already heard this evening how much work specifically Bart and Sheila put into our beach area and into the improvements that take place down there, whether it be the finger docks, the floating docks, the swim area in general. And we do have lots of volunteer effort, and that's always going to be a facet of our community, but it shouldn't, I don't feel, consistently fall on the same shoulders. So the formation of new committees moving forward would include a 5-year plan committee, which would be a group of members and potentially a director here or there who are setting the course for what we want to see moving forward, whether it's additional community events, whether it is creating some sort of new program, whatever the case, whether it's planning for new facilities down at our beach. This year, we'll see the grand return of our Portisan, and that's a great joy for everyone to look forward to. But there is more that we could be doing in our beach area. Something that the board has discussed in our pre-work sessions would be the re-leveling of the volleyball field/court area and potentially the installation of sand there to create a truly enjoyable playing space. We've also discussed the potential to build a changing house that would allow for families, as we are seeing an increasing number of families moving into the neighborhood, to be able to bring their children down to the beach and not have to either change diapers on a picnic table or schlep their children all the way back to their homes to be able to accomplish these things, and also make the overall beach experience more comfortable, both for guests of homes as well as members in general, to be able to have a place to go and change out of wet clothing into dry, etc. We've discussed even the potential of the creation of boat lockers, which would allow for residents who do not live on lakefront property to store paddles, PFDs, the things that you have to carry to and from your house every time you want to use a boat you have stored at our beach, to have some storage there just built in so that you wouldn't have to carry these things back and forth. So the 5-year plan committee is sort of the big ideas group as we're envisioning it. And so obviously, if anyone here would be interested in joining and or chairing, I would be open to hearing from you now. This is now open silence. Don't worry, there will be an email for that. This is obviously a new idea and a new proposal. So again, this, along with the remaining committees to discuss, will be distributed to the community at large. Go for it, Mike.
And I think it's important just to, like, these are just ideas, and we wanted to form these committees to facilitate a forum for the community and people to talk about things, right? And like, we don't want it to be just the 6 of us or whoever's on a call to lead the direction here. So I think it's appropriate for, you know, this to get sent out and people to think on it, and maybe we can send a follow-up soon to see if we can generate some interest in it, and just really have a forum to talk about these kind of ideas in the direction. That's the main intent here.
Yeah, absolutely. And then similarly, following that idea, the Capital Improvements Committee would be for perhaps the handier of those of us in the community. But this one, I really did envision this as a means to try and lessen the load on Bart and Sheila's shoulders, but to pull together a group of like-minded community members who would be committed to assisting in these types of large-scale repairs, such that the finger dock rather is not something that is solely on the shoulders of Bart and Sheila. And any of these new envisioned ideas that could come to fruition, we would have sort of a group already put together who could then seek out volunteers, as opposed to, again, falling to either the president or Sheila or whoever to try and solicit volunteers as these projects come up and we have the opportunity to pursue them. So again, in the same vein as what Mike is saying, this is something for everyone to think on, whether this is something that you would be interested in participating in, and we will send out a couple rounds of communication regarding all of these committees. The last would be the Safety and Sustainability Committee. And so this one is one that I personally know, just because I am out walking our streets every day, that we have a large number of work crews, oil trucks, garbage pickups, etc. We have a pretty massive amount of large vehicular traffic on what are relatively narrow roads, and there are a lot of blind spots as well. And I also want to remember that our community includes our homes on Oskalita Road. And so they also have the traffic coming down off of Mountain Lakes that comes, again, through a pretty narrow stretch that can be moving at a pretty good clip. And so this committee is designed to think about what ways can we improve both the safety for those of us, because so many of the members of our community love to walk our roadways and love to take in the nature of our community. What can we do to improve the safety for those who are walking those areas? And at the same time, and in the same hand, improve our sustainability by reducing our carbon footprint? Is there a way that we can pursue a better contract and better pricing for all of our community with either an oil supplier or a garbage removal service that would allow for us to both reduce the amount of large vehicles that are traveling our roadways, often at relatively high speeds, and then also in the same vein, cut down on the amount of the diesel being burned in our air. So that's, again, this is, all about conversations, about getting folks together and coming up with ideas together on how we can work together to make our community even better than it already is, because it's already pretty idyllic. But I'm very much of the mindset that we can always be doing better, and if we're not trying, then we're failing. So that's sort of where I'm coming from, and I think these three sort of areas really key in on the things that we can be doing to improve what we already have as such a wonderful space here. So is there any question, conversation, anything anyone would like to say, perhaps even a committee, something that has sparked in your mind that is not currently listed on the agenda, anything at all? I'd be interested to hear. Either I'm doing a great job or a terrible job, but either way, it is expedient. So I can live with that outcome.
Trevor, I'll kick in an idea. And this is something that I know when I moved to the community, can't remember exactly who it was. I think I remember who it was, but I remember our family got a nice welcoming basket. I think it was just like a bottle of wine and some flowers or something. Or maybe a pot of mint. But I do remember one of the neighbors who has now since moved away, bringing that over, and I thought that was a nice thing. And I think that might be a good addition to have a welcoming committee. I'd certainly be willing to be on that committee, but it's good to have a few different people on that committee, I think. But I would think that would be a great committee to try to get started up again.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's great. And we'll fold that in and make sure that folks are aware and have the opportunity to join on. I think that's a wonderful suggestion, Larry. So with that said, we turn our eyes, sorry, bring it up back again, to a proposed date for bulk trash pickup. This was honestly, I left this on there because Martin was going to be here, but he had to run a little early because he has sort of volunteered to take the lead on bulk trash pickup, as through his business, he has worked with many of the garbage removal services that serve our area. So he is interested in soliciting pricing and determining what the best company to move with would be. So I would propose to table this for now, and we will alert the community via the newsletter and via email on dates and when to expect that bulk trash pickup. As far as the rest of it, we are at other proposed business. I do have one email that I received today from a resident regarding an empty lot in the community. The specific lot, I believe to be the corner of Twin Lakes Road and North Lake Circle, where the yield sign is. So there was some concern noted that this empty lot was sort of falling into disrepair and had become something of an eyesore. And so the question raised was, is there anything that we as a board, as a community can do either to address this ourselves and or to address this with the owner of that property? That said, I, off the top of my head, do not know who the owner of that property would be. I would leave that question to either Larry, Sheila, or Diane, who I think would have a better historical record on that. Do we happen to know for certain who that property belongs to?
I think the property that the resident was referring to is at the corner of Oskaleta and North Lake Circle. It's an undeveloped lot. It has some big kind of boulders along the road, and I think it's owned by Mario Buzzio.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Okay. So what I would do at this time is I would like to open it up to the community members that we have here in attendance this evening. Does anyone else have any opinion at large about this property? Anything they would like to add at this time? Currently, this is something that someone has reached out to us, and we can certainly begin investigations as to measures to potentially push this forward. But does anyone else have anything they would like to add about this property at this time? Larry, please.
I just want to add that the I believe that this is from memory, but I believe the bylaws does provide for the club to make repairs or to maintain any unmaintained lots and assess the owner of the lot for the maintenance of it. So if there was a decision to take some action, it would be an expense that should be recoverable.
Thank you for that clarification, Larry. That said, does that, once again, I open up to discussion for the community. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add regarding this property? I am not.
No, I would say though, if we're considering that, a nice friendly email to the property owner might work. I think they might be on the email list, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they definitely are. And so that's certainly where we would begin, and especially given that I'm not hearing any further community support for any type of action at this time, that's where we'll initiate, is just reaching out to the property owner.
Sounds right. Friendly approach for sure.
All right, so that's, I don't think we need to make a motion for this. I think we can agree that that is the appropriate course of action at this time. Larry, go for it.
I did have one other point of order that I really should have brought up when I made my report, but I did want to make a motion, and it has to do with us being able to carry out our business. So as I mentioned when I was going through the treasurer's report, we do have our banking at Chase Manhattan Bank, and I would like to make a motion. And for the person who's taking the minutes, I did send this motion out by email, so I'm just going to read it and you can cut and paste it into the minutes.
Thanks, Larry.
The motion is made by the treasurer, myself, to update the authorized signatories and signature cards at Chase Bank where the Two Lakes Club checking and savings accounts are held, to include the treasurer of the Two Lakes Club, Larry Mango, treasurer, and the secretary, Michael Rudy, as signatories. Once these signature cards are on file at the bank, all previous signature cards representing previous officers of the Two Lake Club should be purged from the club's bank account records.
Will someone second the motion?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Sheila. Any discussion on this topic? I am hearing nothing and seeing nothing. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed? And the motion is granted. Thank you very much, Larry. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, unless there is any other new business that any community members would like to bring forth before the board and the officers at this time, or any topic really at all you'd like to discuss, with the exception of the NFL draft, I would welcome it at this time. And so the floor is open to the community if you have anything you'd like to add or address.
I would like to bring up something, an announcement. Paul Lewis, who I see on the call, is a volunteer member of, I think it's called the Lewisboro Trail Crew. And we do have, there is some work that needs to be done at Leon Levy Preserve. We could use some muscle if anybody's interested. We need to carry some supplies from the parking lot at Leon Levy Preserve out to a work area. And we're going to be meeting on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. in the parking area. Paul, do I have that right?
That's right. Yeah, we have some large timbers, some 20-foot long timbers to carry down about 3/4 of a mile through the woods. So we could use some help with that.
I should be able to join, guys.
Beg your pardon?
I should be able to join this Sunday.
Yes, yes. Sunday, 10 o'clock. Yeah.
Great. Thank
Great.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we will also get that out via email to the community as well. Just hopefully we can get you some extra muscle.
Yeah, George Scott is who is the head of the trails over there, and he's looking for help. These timbers weigh close to 180 pounds, and they're we made 2 trips, and it was pretty heavy.
Very good. Well, thank you for that.
And then Jan
okay.
Anderson is usually in the meeting. She wasn't able to make it tonight. but Jan usually prepares our club directory. I think we're planning on just updating it for this year. And then also, Jan usually reminds us to please become a member of the Three Lakes Council. So since Jan's not here, I just want to encourage everybody on the call to consider becoming a member.
Very good. Thank you, Larry. And when you become a member of the Three Lakes Council, if you have a boat, get a registration sticker and put it on your boat, or else we will sell it.
There you go.
Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add this evening? I am not seeing or hearing anything. So with that, I make a motion to formally close this evening's session. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? Shocking. All those in favor?
We all vote?
Yeah, everybody votes. Absolutely. Any opposed? Sheila?
Yes,
Are
sorry,
you,
I was,
Are you opposed?
no, I'm not opposed.
Okay, just that was going to be the nice like third act twist on this meeting.
Oh, yeah, I
I was
tricked you. Let's keep going.
All right. Well, then the motion is granted. I thank everyone for their attendance this evening. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night, and I hope to see you all in the community soon. Take care,
Well, thank you.
everyone.
Thank
and
you.
be safe.
Well,
Thanks,
thanks to
everyone.
all of you for doing a good job.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night.